options for shuffling results. One of the options in classic quizzes is to go down here and tell it to shuffle the answers. This will shuffle answers on multiple choice questions. That's the simplest option. The other option is to pull in questions from a question group. We come down here and create a new question group. This relies on the use of question banks. And so I'm going to pull from one of my question banks. I'm going to pull from the iNaturalist bank. There's 3 questions in that bank. I'm going to pick one question from it, but I could change the number of questions and I can change the number of points. And what this will do is it will pull a single question from this bank, and it will be a different, potentially different question for each student. Now in that particular bank I have only 3 questions. So let's go have a look at the bank. To get to that bank to see it, let me go ahead and save this while I'm here. I'll go back and edit it later. To get to that bank, I go to Quizzes here, and then the 3-dot menu here where it says Manage Question Banks. And here I can add a question bank or extend an existing question bank. You'll see I have a number of question banks. Let's go look at that iNaturalist question bank. And it has 3 questions in it. I can add questions. And in fact, I compose my classic quizzes here in question banks. And so that's another way to produce a test that will be unique. Build up banks of questions. In this case, there's 3, but banks can be quite large. I have banks that are a good bit larger than that. If I go back to MS 150 Statistics, Quizzes, Banks, you'll see my biggest bank here is 236 questions. And in fact, the bank is so large that when I get to the bottom of the bank, or the bottom of the first page of the bank, I have to click on More Questions to load the next tranche of questions. It's a very large bank. Probably not the best design choice. But the banks then allow me to pull multiple questions in a group when I'm working in a classic quiz. When I'm doing a classic quiz, I can grab multiple questions out of a bank. I'll have to tell it which bank I'm pulling it from, to pull the questions from. I'll have to design my banks for that. But that produces unique tests with different questions for each student. There are some other options that center on the creation of specific, let me go to an old test. When you're actually building questions, you can do some design features here. In certain types of questions, if you're in like math, you can use formula questions, and you'll need to read up on how to use them. But you can actually generate a formula that will create a large range of answers. And so basically every student will get a unique mathematics question. That's unique to mathematics, but it may be useful to others. If you are working in new quizzes, let's go back here. Quiz. Let me create a new quiz for now. If you're working in new quizzes, so here's my new quiz. You click on Build to build this. It may take a little longer to load because it is an external tool. You can shuffle questions or answers. So New Quizzes has the new option of shuffling questions and answers in a particular quiz. New quizzes are available now and can be used. I'm recommending formal transition to them probably sometime in mid-2024. I'm watching for certain features to land, but they're quite usable even now. And you can, in new quizzes, you can shuffle both questions and answers. You click on those and you can shuffle questions and answers. You can also do question groups in new quizzes as well. They set up slightly differently, but when you're doing a build, you can pull together you can create questions that come from banks and things. The new quizzes use banks, not item banks, not question banks, slightly different. But there is an option to convert if you want to play with a existing quiz. It can be converted. There's a few things that still don't quite fully convert, so you need to edit your conversions. But if I click return, they save continuously, and give it something fairly small. If I tell it to migrate this, it'll say migration in progress. And the open rocket ship is a classic quiz. This is a new quiz. And so this is the result of the migration. It comes in not published. That's normal. And it's still actually migrating this one over, but it'll come in as an external tool. Let's see what it brought over from the build screen. And so it's brought over the first question. Table has changed format slightly. That's a format change. The double lines, it was a single line table. The rest of it looks fairly straightforward. So it's converted most of this into a new quiz. And now I can do the shuffle question, shuffle answers, which won't make sense in this because they need the data in the first question. If that's last, it's going to be very confusing. But again, you can shuffle questions, shuffle answers in new quizzes. And that can also allow you to produce quizzes and tests that are not identical between students. And again, you can have question banks. You'll have to look at your item banks. I haven't set up my item banks. We don't have a migration tool yet for the banks, and that's one of the missing pieces. It's a migration tool that will directly migrate the question banks to item banks. So I'll need to build out, I may need to build those out more manually. But you can migrate tests and quizzes, and assessments can include outcome alignment to your institutional outcomes can be aligned to a particular quiz. Or if you're working in a question, you can do the same thing. You can set up when you're at this one, that's the instructions, come down here to number 1. You can align outcomes, and these come out of the institutional bank of your outcomes, from your outcomes bank, and you can align them to the question. And so you can align outcomes here. And that's a couple ways you can produce different answers. You can shuffle answers, you can use question groups, and if you move to new quizzes, you can do shuffle questions, shuffle answers. I hope this helps.